story this hour. Ahmad Massoud, the leader of the resistance force in Afghanistan's Panjshir, has offered to cease fighting and start negotiations if the Taliban leave the province. Now, leader of Afghan holdout region issued a long post on Facebook where he added that the National Resistance Front is committed to peacefully resolving differences with the Taliban in accordance with the principles of religion and morality. Now, Massoud said that he welcomed the proposals from religious scholars for a negotiated settlement to end the fighting. The National Resistance Front agrees to solve the problems and to stop the war and continue the process of negotiations. It hopes the Taliban will take practical steps to this demand of the honorable scholars. The National Resistance Front is ready to stop the war immediately in order to achieve stable peace if the Taliban group ends its military attacks and movements in Panjshir, and hopes that it will end the war with scholars and reforms a large gathering all inclusively. He also added that the National Resistance Front fully calls for the support of honorable scholars to remove the compensation on Panjshir and hopes that the Taliban will take this Islamic and humanitarian demand seriously. However, a spokesperson for the Taliban's political bureau has rejected Ahmad Massoud's offer for talks. The Taliban spokesperson said, and I'm quoting here, "After Ahmad Massoud rejected our offer for peace, there is nothing left to negotiate." Now, the Taliban took control of the rest of the Afghanistan 3 weeks ago, but the Panjshir rally has been fighting the most prominent example of resistance in Taliban. Earlier, Afghan media reported that religious scholars had called on the Taliban to accept a negotiated settlement to end the fighting in Panjshir. The calls for a negotiated settlement with the Taliban came after fighting broke out around a week ago in Panjshir. Several attempts at talks were held but eventually broke down, with each side blaming the other for their failure. Massoud is leading a force made up of remnants of the regular Afghan army and special forces units as well as local militia fighters. Taliban spokesperson Bilal Karimi said that their forces had made it into the provincial capital and had captured large quantities of weapons and ammunition. Now, Panjshir has proved very difficult to overcome in the past as well. Under Ahmad Massoud, the region long resisted control by both the invading of Soviet army and the Taliban government that previously ruled from 1996 to 2001. But that effort was helped by supply routes leading north to the border, which were closed off by the Taliban sweeping victory last month. We're now being joined by our correspondent Anas Malik from Kabul. Anas, thank you for joining us. What can you tell us about the situation on ground?
Well, the situation on ground remains pretty grim. The fight for Bazarak and Khanj is currently ongoing. Bazarak is the provincial capital of the province of Panjshir, where yesterday we saw that ambush from the Taliban. I was there yesterday in Panjshir as well. We had access until Shutul district, that is the first district, and beyond Shutul is Anaba, then Rokha, then Pariyan, Daryab, and then onwards to Bazarak and Khanj. Bazarak and Khanj are the last two districts. Bazarak is also the provincial capital. It also has the house of Ahmad Massoud, and which is now his mausoleum. The fight for Panjshir has been ongoing. Both sides have been suffering heavy losses. Both sides have been claiming to have killed each other's men in greater numbers. But independently, given that I was there less than 24 hours back, I can say that both sides have been suffering losses. What is pertinent to note over here is the fact that the strategic positions that were in control of the NRF, that were at the hilltops, which had tanks and anti-tank machine guns as well, they're now being overrun by the Taliban as well.
Right, Anas, also like I mentioned earlier, the National Resistance Front has been asking for negotiations once again. What can we expect on that front?
Well, to be fair, I spoke to the Taliban spokesperson Mohammad Naeem, and he has outrightly rejected the call for negotiations. He said, and I quote, that when we wanted to talk to him, he rejected our call for negotiations. So now there is nothing left to talk about. This is what the Taliban spokesperson, the Taliban's political office spokesperson Mohammad Naeem has maintained. When I asked him about Ahmad Massoud's offer for peace talks, and we understand that the peace talks that were ongoing, that had the first round of which had taken place on the 25th of August in Charikar, when a 12-member Panjshir delegation led by Basir Salangai was in a meeting with the Taliban delegation. The Taliban delegation comprised of 6 individuals. It was a 6-member Taliban delegation that was led by Maulana Turabi. Maulana Turabi was the Peace and Justice Minister during the Taliban rule, and during that, both the sides had agreed to basically not attack each other's position. But then we saw the Taliban advancing to Kapisa. That was a violation of that gentleman's agreement. And on the other hand, the Panjshiri forces trying to take back Andrab Valley, and that too was a violation on either of the sides. So Taliban did a violation by attacking Kapisa and moving towards Kapisa, which is just adjacent to Panjshir. And on the other hand, the Panjshiri militia, that they also did a violation independent after this is what being said after being independently verified, that they moved towards Andrab. So both the sides did their moves, did a violation, and then we saw intense Panjshir resorting to intense violence, intense fighting. And then on the night of 30th of August, a renewed offensive was launched by the Taliban to take back control of Panjshir. On 31st of August, we saw an audio note coming in from the head of Dawa and Guidance Commission, Amir Khan Muttaqi, where he had urged the people of Panjshir to ask their men, or to ask their leaders to give up arms, and that to ask their ulemas as well to urge people to give up arms, and that those who would want to fight would be given a tough battle. This is what Amir Khan Muttaqi had maintained.
All right, Anas, given the situation right now, how equipped do you think the resistance front is right now to hold out against the Taliban?
Well, the situation, given the current situation, it's not about the equipment that the militia, that the men from Panjshir has. It's about the manpower. We were there on the 2nd of August, roughly about a month back, roughly about 34 days back, and we did that report where young school children, college-going children were being trained. That is about 5,000 to 6,000 people. There are reports, again, these are reports, these are not independently verified, that those NDS and army units which had not surrendered had also gone to Panjshir. There is no mechanism to independently verify it, because yesterday when I was there, I was at the gate of Panjshir at Shutol, which is the gate of Panjshir, and from Shutol, all on the way to Anaba and onwards, at least until Anaba, there were no networks. I've been to Panjshir previously as well. These are strategic points where you find mobile networks, so for communication purposes. So the bigger problem for the Panjshiri militia would be about manpower, which they are under-equipped. It's not about the weapons or armory. They have been equipping that. I was there, as I said, I was there about a month back, and people had been telling me that they had been preparing for this for years. It is pertinent to mention that on the 5th of September 2019, the foundation to the National Resistance Front, NRF, was laid by Ahmad Massoud, the son of Ahmad Shah Massoud. So in 2 years, they had been stocking much. They had ample amount of weapons, but the bigger problem remains for the valley of Panjshir, or for the people of Panjshir, is for the fact of manpower.
Right, Anas. Thank you so much for joining us with all the updates on that. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.